Okay, good morning, you beautiful New Zealanders. Well, today we're going to have a look at another video, and today's video commentary shows how the media is supporting and collaborating with the activists. The following is a 6-minute Maori protest promotion. That's what it actually is. It cost $105,000 per 30 seconds to advertise on TV1, or $210,000 a minute. You can find that information just by Googling. This, quote, news item therefore cost us, that's the taxpayer, $1.26 million. The activists are attempting to take over our country, and we are paying for it. So we're really paying for the takeover of our country through the media. TV1 is helping these activists. Because TV1 is state-funded, we, the taxpayers, are paying for this propaganda. Really, this video is simply a mixture of spin, lies, and baseless claims. So let's watch it together, and you'll see exactly what I mean.
Nationwide rallies are getting underway shortly, coinciding with today's budget, to show unity against the government's Māori policies. Following the hikoi in December last year, it's the second call to action organised by Te Pāti Māori and others connected to the Toitū Te Tiriti movement, with people being encouraged to strike and join convoys, despite Prime Minister Christopher Luxon calling the planned protests illegal. Up north, people are meeting in Kaitaia and Whangare and Auckland. There are 4 meeting spots, and gathering points have been organised sweeping across the North Island and in Nelson, Christchurch and Dunedin in the South Island.
So what's happening here in this video is that Television One, this breakfast show I think it is, they are giving the Maori protesters free advertising. It's a massive big advert paid for by the taxpayer, because Television One is a government funded television station, and we're paying for the advertising of the takeover of our country. Doesn't that get you going?
Well, police are warning motorists across the country to be wary of disruptions and plan trips accordingly. They also say they recognise the right to peaceful protests and have worked with organisers to ensure everyone's safety. There's a hikoi leaving soon from Kirikiriroa Marae, making its way through Hamilton. Leading it is Lady Tureti Moxon. Morena, Lady Moxon, thank you for being with us this morning. Talk to us about the importance of these kinds of hikoi. What is the point?
Morena, Jenny May. Well, the point is that a lot of people in our country are very concerned about the...
Okay, so she starts off by saying a lot of people. Well, it's really, she's sounding like she's talking for all New Zealanders, but really she's talking for about a small group of radicals, other sheeple Māori, that's Māori who had just got caught up in it all, who don't know anything about the treaty, who don't know anything about why they're really protesting. They're just being told to get out on the street and march. And she's trying to put spin on this to say that, you know, that's the whole country. Well, it's not the whole country, but that's the spin they put on it.
And the fast-track policies of this government that are and appear to be very anti-Māori.
Okay, so the fast-track legislation was enabling the government to build infrastructure and do major roading projects and other projects around the country, and cut all the red tape that was slowing everything down. That's all they were doing. And actually Maori get to have a say in that, and I'm pretty angry about that as well, because why should Maori have a say in what infrastructure projects go on in the country? Why should they? Why should they have to be advised? All they do is clip the ticket. And there's 160 cultures here. Why are Maori singled out to be the ones in the fast track bill that actually get a say into what infrastructure should be built in New Zealand? So I think the national government is caving in. The national government is appeasing Māori. But this lady doesn't think that. She just doesn't know what she's talking about, really.
And it wouldn't be so bad if this didn't concern Māori and in the name of all New Zealanders. But unfortunately, this has been something that has continued since.
So there's, in the name of all New Zealanders, there's the same theme again, that this is trying to give the impression that this is the whole country who are going to be, who are worried about this anti-Maori stance, so-called anti-Maori stance. When you list all the privileges and all the handouts and all the advantages of Maori getting, this is just total BS. because Maori are getting privilege beyond privilege and handout beyond handout. It's pretty astounding, actually, that she can even say this. Okay, one of the people that I really respect and use a lot is Te Rapa Rananara, because he was New Zealand's greatest Maori. He got a law degree in 2 years instead of 3. He had a Doctor of Literature. He was an MP in the 1920s and 30s, and sometimes he stood in as the Deputy Prime Minister. Well, this is what he would have to say about how well the government has treated Māori since 1840. He would say this: let me acknowledge first that in the whole world, I doubt whether any native race has been so well treated by a European people as the Māori. And there's the reference. Now, that's a pretty big thing for a hardcore Maori politician to say about Europeans. And you know, Lady Moxham and all the Maori and Waititi's wife and John Tamahiri and all the Radical Maori in New Zealand, they need to study that and just take that in.
100-day plan the government put in its infancy when it first began. And for us, that is just not on. We are very concerned, and we've got people all over the country who are saying the same thing, that they are concerned about these policies. And really, what we want the government to listen to what Māori have to say and listen to what Māori want for ourselves, and the opportunity as it is for every New Zealander for Māori to live as Māori.
Okay. Well, there's a big one. What's stopping Maori from living as Maori want to live? What is stopping them? Absolutely nothing. The answer is zero. They can live their lives on their maraes in their homes, just like any other of the 160 cultures who live in New Zealand. They are allowed to live in any way they want to live within the law of New Zealand. There's nothing stopping them. So what is she on about?
Lady Moxon, I know that you walk in different worlds, and so I wonder what conversations you're having with people, and also those that are gathering today in Kirikiriroa, Hamilton. What are they talking to you about specifically around the government's policy?
In other words, Jenny May's saying, come on, give us some specifics. Tell us what you're on about.
Well, they're very concerned about the policies that have been put out, particularly in terms of the way in which Te Treaty o Waitangi is being disregarded by the government.
Okay, there's another great big line that they use all the time, that the Treaty of Waitangi is being disregarded. Well, no, it's not. All David Seymour is trying to do, and in the ACT Party, is bring the country back to the original meaning and intent of the original Treaty of Waitangi. That's all he is doing. He's not changing the treaty. He's not going to eliminate the treaty. He's not going to do anything like that. All he's doing is bringing the country back to the original intent and meaning of the treaty, because it's been so manipulated and so butchered and so contorted by activists for the last 50 years that it's not recognizable compared to the original treaty. And so this lady's talking nonsense. And
the Waitangi Tribunal have said very clearly that it is a breach of Te Treaty o Waitangi, but they're continuing on this trajectory.
What is a breach? She doesn't say what is a breach. And the second thing is that no specifics about what the breach is. And the second thing is that the tribunal is just an advisory body to the government. The tribunal is not a court. It was set up just to advise the government about issues to do with the treaty and breaches of the treaty. That is all. But she's sort of saying that the Waitangi Tribunal is some sort of body that is above government and can push government around. That's a complete misnomer.
Really disestablishing and ignoring what Māori are saying in terms of the things that we want and we need, particularly around our tamariki, particularly 7AA.
Okay, so she's talking about the Karen Shaw's 7AA Tamariki Act, and all Karen Shaw was doing was saying, you know what? When children come into a foster home situation, they should go into the best home, not necessarily a Maori home. And they should go into a loving home, whether it's Maori or Pākehā. But Maori, these people like this lady, are saying, oh no, a Maori child has got to go into a Maori home. Well, why is that? Because they want to keep radicalising Maori in Maori homes. But the truth is that if children are just put into a Maori home because they're a Maori, there's a good chance they're going to go into a home that they're going to get smashed up in, and things are going to go all wrong for that child, and you'll wreck a little life. But so that's what Karen Shaw's all about, but they want to counter this by saying only Maori children can go into Maori homes.
Around the fact that a lot of our babies are no longer going to have access to kai in schools.
Okay, there's another issue she's bringing up. Lunches in schools. I don't believe that we should be providing lunches in schools. Why? Because it's increasing dependence upon the state, and parents should be looking after their children, providing lunches for them, and increasing the strength of the family unit. And of course, what's happening with school lunches is that parents are just abdicating their responsibilities, their roles to the government, and saying, you can feed our kids.
The fact that the disestablishment of the Māori wards.
Okay, here's another issue she's on about, disestablishment of the Maori wards. Well, they should be disestablished. They're undemocratic. If people are not voted in to a position of power, that's local government power or central government power, they can only be voted in. They can't be appointed. If you start appointing people to Maori wards and to government, then you're in a dictatorship. You're not in a democracy. So she's wrong about that one.
Disestablishment of Te Aka Whai Order, having control over Māori health, for example.
Okay, so they disestablished the Maori Health Authority. $500 million was put into the establishment of the Maori Health Authority. It all went wrong, didn't improve Maori health. And listen, if Maori want health care, they can get the health care they want anywhere, anytime, same as any other New Zealander. So they are completely off the wall. You know, the real reason that they wanted a separate health authority is because it's part of a grab by activist Māori who want to take over the country, and they're trying to get strategic assets into their stable of assets so that they get greater and greater control of the country. It had absolutely nothing to do with Maori health. It was just it was a way of getting large amounts of money and buildings into the hands of Maori. That's what that was about. It had nothing to do with Maori health.
And yet the statistics are exactly the same, and they've put us right back where we were before, when we basically wanted to respond to our people in a way that they wanted to be responded to.
Okay, what's she talking about? They want to be responded to in a way that they wanted to be responded to. Well, what do they want? They can get it. They can go to a doctor. They can go to hospital. This is just nonsense, honestly.
These hikoi are being deliberately organised on budget day. So what is it? What is the message that you're hoping that the government will take from all of these rallies that are happening around the country?
With all the tax cuts that the government have proposed and have actually implemented, with all the disestablishments that they are creating, Māori wants to take care of ourselves.
Okay. Maori want to take care of themselves. Well, what are they? What is stopping Maori from taking care of themselves? They don't. They top the charts. They get the gold medal for every negative social indicator in the country. Child abuse, smoking, obesity, suicide, homelessness, poverty, incarceration rates, truancy in schools, you name it. They get the gold medal. Well, what is stopping Maori from looking after themselves, for heaven's sake? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. In fact, they get so many handouts and so much help that any other culture would, if they got the same help, it'd be like a lotto win. But Maori just can never have enough. That's the truth.
want to do for Māori what is right and what is needed for us. We do not want the government to tell us what's right. We do not want the government to continue to say that this is the way it's going to be and that's the only way there is.
Okay. Well, sorry, Mrs. Moxham, Lady Moxham. You signed up to a democracy, your ancestors did in 1840. To live in a democracy, people have been voted into power by the majority. And you signed up to that, or your elders did, your chiefs signed up to this democracy, and I'm sorry, but you're in a democracy, and therefore this is the duly elected government who's in, and you've got to suck it up, because they are governing on behalf of the majority. Well, this is what Sir Aparana Ngata had to say. Listen to this very, very carefully, because he's onto it. He says, during the time when the Maori chiefs had authority, and there was no authority of British law, the word of the chief was law to his tribe. It was he who declared war, and he who sued for peace. It was the chiefs who bespoke the land and gave it away. They had the power even for life and death. They could just put somebody in the tribe to death. These were the powers surrendered to the Queen. This was the understanding of the chiefs. The main purport was the transferring of the authority of the Maori chiefs for making laws for their respective tribes and sub-tribes under the Treaty of Waitangi forever. The embodiment today is Parliament. Now, Lady Moxham, you need to study that. So does Waititi, so does Waititi's wife, so does John Tamahiri. So move on.
We want is to be able to control, have rangatiratanga over our own lives. And
okay, there's rangatiratanga, which means absolute sovereignty over our own lives. Yeah, what's stopping you from doing that? You can have absolute sovereignty over your life. You can make decisions for what you want to do each day. Who's stopping you? Nobody. So what are you talking about?
Just not happening anywhere. So this budget day, it's a very important day simply because it's a new government. And I really do think that they haven't thought through a great deal in terms of the inequities in health, the
inequities in health. Well, you know what? If Maori got along to the doctors, if Maori got along to the hospitals, if Maori stopped smoking, if they stopped eating KFC and McDonald's, and they got to the gym and they started eating properly and lived a balanced life. You know, there's a great article that was written by Dr. Lawrie Knight, who used to be an All Black, and he's a medical doctor, and I'll put it in the description of this video, which shows that Maori health inequities and that the health system is racist was absolute bunkum. He goes through and writes a brilliant article to absolutely destroy the idea that Maori needed a separate health system because all their needs weren't being met. It's just another big load of BS.
Numbers of people that are actually living in poverty.
Well, there's a lot of people living in poverty. Maori go on about their economy worth $70 billion. Why are they not looking after their own with their $70 billion? They expound the great virtues of their huge Maori economy, 70 billion. Well, how come there's any Maori anywhere, not in a house and in any sort of poverty? Why don't they fork out for their own people? They don't do it. They want the government to pay while they hoard the cash for themselves. This is a nonsense.
Of people who are really in need, great need in our country. So I hope to see some.
Well, why don't you meet that need with the great big $70 billion Maori economy? Mrs. Moxham, Lady Moxham. Come on, pull finger. Maori looking after Maori. If you're so concerned about how beautiful and how amazing Maori are, why don't they look after themselves?
In the budget that looks as if they actually care about the people of our country.
Okay, so she's saying they don't care. No, Maori don't care for themselves. The government is absolutely bent over backwards for the last 50 years to look after Maori, actually since 1840. And Maori just cannot look after themselves and look after their own.
Yeah. Just to wind up, how many are you expecting today? Who are you expecting to turn up? Because these rallies aren't just for Māori, right?
Okay, there's a big line. There's the, Jenny May trying and put the spin across once again, that these rallies are for all New Zealanders. They're trying to give the impression that the whole country is behind this. No, they are not. This is being led by two groups. One is radical leaders who are brainwashing and radicalizing other Maori, which is like 0.1% of the crowd, and then the 99.9% of the crowd are just sheep following along blindly with what the activists have commanded them to do and whipped them up to do. And Lady Moxon is one of those 0.1% radicals.
No, that's right. We have put the call out to everybody in Kirikiriroa.
Notice Kirikiriroa, that's another word for Hamilton. No referendum about that was held in Hamilton to change the name or the name of New Zealand to Aotearoa. See, this is just bulldozing. This is a takeover. And people have got to recognise this.
Who would like to join us today. And we've also put the call out to the Anglican Church. And
Okay, so the Anglican Church is completely woke. They have no idea what's going on behind the scenes, that there's a takeover of New Zealand going on, that the Treaty of Waitangi's been screwed, that principles and so on have been introduced into legislation which were not in the treaty. The Anglican Church is honestly the most woke, lost religious group in the country, and of course they've joined in for that reason.
Because they had an instrumental part in the Treaty of Waitangi, so they will be gathering together with everyone.
They had an instrumental part. The Anglican Church had an instrumental part in the Treaty of Waitangi. Well, Henry Williams, the man who translated the final English draft into Maori on the night of the 4th of February 1840, he was a CMS missionary. He was a great missionary. And why doesn't the Anglican Church go back to reading that final English draft and the treaty in Maori so that they can friggin' well get their act together and get with the party and know their history? They don't. They're just white, woke liberals who are sheep trying to look virtuous by joining in with a cause
all over the country. We also put the call out to all our Māori providers and to Pākehā providers, service providers. So everyone and the university, the students at the university, we
Okay, so she's trying to rope in, make this look like there's a lot of groups who are all behind them. No, they're not.
Have called for everybody to come together, kia kotahi tātou, as one in unity.
Okay, so she's flipping that saying. Remember when Hobson on the 6th of February 1840 shook the hands of each chief that signed the treaty, and he says, we are now one people? Well, she's flipped that around completely and saying, now it's Maori saying we're all one with Maori. Really, the original saying was, we're now one with the British government. She's flipped that around. Oh, she's flipped it around and saying, now we're all one with Maori. No, we're not. So she's twisting history right there in front of your eyes.
Ko e ke te wā, nei rā te mihi atu ki a koe e te marae kura, Lady Lawrie Moxon, a long-time Māori advocate joining us this morning from Kirikiriroa Marae in Hamilton.
Okay, I'm just going to wrap this up. What's really going on here? Okay, Lady Moxon spoke for 6 minutes. TV1 gave her all that time. There was no substance in what she said. If you drill down and ask a little bit deeper questions, if you peel back the onion, there's no substance at all. So really it was just spin. So what do Maori really want? They want to wear the government down with complaining. That's how they do it. With marches, tantrums, constant complaining. Well, what for? What are they doing all this for? So that MPs will gradually, and by increment, cave in to Maori. What's the end game for Maori? What are they aiming for? Where are we going with all this? Well, they want total control of New Zealand. Now, I'm going to put a couple of articles in the description to this video to show that that's not a conspiracy theory, that's actually the truth. So I'd like you to read those. Now, I was saying this a year ago, that the end goal of Maori was to take over the entire country. And many Kiwis did not believe me. They said, oh, this is just a conspiracy theory, Now, in front of our eyes, what I said a year ago is coming true. See you tomorrow.
Please share this video with everyone everywhere. The mainstream media should be reporting on the issues I am raising in these videos, but they're not. Why aren't they? Well, they're corrupt. Why are they corrupt? They are collaborating with Maori activists, there's no doubt about that. In the final analysis, the people of New Zealand, that's us, have ultimate power, not the politicians. Did you know that? The people can kick out the people in power and they can put them into power. How are we going to do that? Well, awareness is the key to change. If enough people in New Zealand become aware of the issues I am raising, we can save this beautiful country. So share these videos everywhere so that come the next election, we can vote the right people in and kick out the people who are destroying New Zealand.